Katerina and Chris came to me looking for their first home.
Whether it was finding a house or a mortgage broker, Rebecca helped us through every step of the process of buying a home. We highly recommend Putnam Real Estate.
Whether you're looking for your first home, an investment property, or need to sell, our professional agents and brokers will save you time and money. We're familiar with the local building, zoning, and conservation codes, as well as the financing rules for first-time home buyers. Our success comes from your satisfaction.
My name is Rebecca Putnam, broker-owner of Putnam Real Estate. If you're looking to buy or sell, Putnam Real Estate is here for you.
Welcome to the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce.
The Falmouth Chamber is dedicated to working on behalf of our members to make Falmouth a better place to live, work, and conduct business. We are committed to developing the economic, cultural, educational, and civic interests of our community and welcome the support from all organizations to achieve our combined goals. Whether you call Falmouth home, are a summer resident, or a visitor, we hope you take advantage of all that the Chamber has to offer.
And welcome to the May 11th, 2015 meeting of the Board of Selectmen. The board just adjourned an executive session, and we are now back in open session, and invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item in our agenda is a proclamation, and this is for the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce Citizen of the Year, who is Richard Sherman. And if someone would care to read the proclamation? It's fairly long, so you have to read fast.
Falmouth Chamber of Commerce 2015 Citizen of the Year. Whereas the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce annually acknowledges and pays tribute to a citizen of the town of Falmouth who has made a lasting positive impact on the community through participation in a broad scope of activities and whose commitment to the town has been demonstrated by many years of service beyond his or her profession. And whereas Richard Sherman has been an outstanding citizen of the town of Falmouth, Massachusetts, and Cape Cod, and well known for all his tireless and widespread accomplishments and contributions to the betterment of society. And whereas Richard Sherman has been the co-founder and co-director of both the Falmouth Road Race and the Falmouth Flag Day 5K Run Walk, both of which have benefited scores of individuals and community organizations. And whereas Richard Sherman has been a founding member, past president, and director of the Carousel of Light, helping to preserve a true Falmouth piece of artwork. And whereas Richard Sherman is a member of the Falmouth Hospital Foundation, which works to provide the very best medical resources for Falmouth citizens. And whereas Richard Sherman has served as a director for the Cape Cod Theater Project, the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce, and Gosnell Treatment Center, helping those organizations reach their goals and make significant contributions to our community. And whereas Richard Sherman has been a volunteer for Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Cape Cod, filling an important need to children who have benefited from his guidance and concern. And whereas Richard Sherman has served on the Strategic Planning Committee of Historic Highfield, ensuring that this Falmouth landmark has remained accessible to the residents of our community. And whereas Richard Sherman has worked tirelessly for our community while serving as a coach, mentor, and friend to countless individuals. And whereas Richard Sherman's many other accomplishments and contributions are memorialized in the minds of those he has touched and chronicled on the pages of organizations across this town, region, and state. And as he continues to make a difference in the town of Falmouth, we do hereinafter affirm that this gentleman is worthy of high praise and recognition, and therefore the Falmouth Board of Selectmen, by proclamation and signatures affixed, do hereby vigorously proclaim Richard Sherman, Falmouth's 2015 Citizen of the Year, and I so move.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. And I can't say enough about Richard Sherman's contributions. We've all known him for many, many years through the road race, and I can't tell you, especially with the Carousel of Light, because I was very involved with that in the very beginning, and Rich was really amazing. He and his daughter Kathy really did his wife Kathy and his daughter really did a great deal to help that along. Sam?
Actually, I was going to mention that what should have been in the proclamation was just him bringing his wife into the town and everything she's done. She was an amazing educator, was elected Teacher of the Year in Massachusetts, traveled throughout the state advocating for education, and was one of the 4 prime movers for the road race for how many years? 20 years, something like that.
More.
So we can thank Rick for Kathleen's participation in this town as well, because it's been tremendous. So thank you, Rick.
Great. Are there any announcements? Doug?
I have 2. One's going to be fairly brief and probably make this an extended announcement next week. But as I was coming into town to the meeting this evening, I did hear the passing of prior Selectman Eddie Marks, and I did want to give him a moment of silence. And we're going to expound upon his virtues and all of his contributions next week. But I did just want to give a moment for that.
Thank you.
And the second announcement was on Saturday and Sunday, the Falmouth bus station or bus depot will be available to residents to come and help clean brush, pick up trash. We have a cleanup day from 10 to 2 that's been organized, and show up with your rakes, show up with gloves, and help us all try to get that space cleaned up as we get ready with the EDIC moving really forward with a major renovation of that project.
Good. Is there anyone who would care to speak under public comment on any item not on the agenda? Yes, Mr. Zweig.
My name is Ron Zweig, and I'm your representative on the Board of Governors of the Cape Light Compact. And I'm here tonight to give a little more information, and especially some recent news. The aggregation plan, which has to do with the Cape Light Compact, working with all the towns on Cape Cod and Martha's Vineyard, has been approved by the Department of Public Utilities. So that plan allows the Cape Light Compact basically to work as the aggregator for the towns and support renewable energy programs as well as energy efficiency. And the main aspect about energy efficiency is that, and this continues into the future, and up until now there's been almost $500 million of savings projected from the energy efficiency programs that have been initiated by the Cape Light Compact. The last time the aggregation plan was updated was in 2004. So it's been about 11 years, and there was a lot of changes. It even had the name Electric, that many of us remember here, as the energy supplier, but now it's more generic than that. So it has been done, and I would encourage everyone to participate in the program and to call this number, 800-797-6699. Our operators are waiting, and to help you with the energy efficiency, to get into the assessments of your home. And also, I'd just like to make another announcement in that there are other programs that the Cape Light Compact supports. The Housing Assistance Corporation of Cape Cod has programs for households where the median income is 60% of the area median income. In other words, for the lower income households, there's special programs. The other programs affect or can be taken advantage of or used by residents, by businesses, government. As we all know, the town has benefited a lot from this. The street light program is saving the town tens of thousands of dollars a year, and so we have these aspects. So anyway, call this number, 800-797-6699. And for the Housing Assistance Corporation, number is 508-771-5400, 5400, 508-771-5400. So even though it's kind of nice out now, the days are longer, we know what's coming, although there's also energy efficiency programs for summer as well. So you can also, for different things, air conditioning, different aspects, and insulating of homes. Thank you. Sorry.
Right on the money. Thanks. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak under public comment? Then we'll move to the minutes of the meeting of April 27th, 2015, the public session.
I move approval of the April 27, 2015 minutes as presented.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Great job, Jennifer.
Yes, very good job. Thank you. The next item was an interview with a potential candidate for the Affordable Housing Committee, and he has withdrawn his application. So we will move on to the summary of actions. The licenses. A one-day wine and malt liquor license for a concert at the Cape Cod Fairgrounds on May 23rd, 2015, and to approve the change of Sunday opening to 10 a.m. for the wine and malt package store license, the DLB 638 Inc. DBA North Falmouth Liquors.
I move approval of those two licenses.
Second. Any discussion? Yes.
Is there anyone here from the one-day
The Alexander Holmes Foundation.
fairgrounds? Okay, all right, that's fine.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. The next are the administrative orders, and when I call them out, if you want to hold them, just say so. Adopt the order of taking of White Pine Lane. Approve the donation of a sign for the Falmouth Heights backstop Cape Cod Codgers. Sign the warrant for the annual town election, May 19th, 2015.
I did want to hold that, just that we do have to, what we had in our packet had the wrong date on it,
Okay.
and we need to make sure the warrant.
Appoint members to the Board of Registrars. Approve the request to repaint and change the wording of the sign in front of the Gus Canny Recreation Center.
I'd like to hold that just for a brief discussion.
Execute the agreement to exchange parcels to the West Falmouth Library. And accept the donation from Billy Casper Golf in the amount of $70,000 for property improvements. So a motion on 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7.
So move. Approval?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. So let's go back to 2. Sign the warrant for the town election.
Just to make sure the top date is May 19th, 2015.
Okay?
And then at the very end, given on our hands this day, I guess we'd have to say the 11th day of May 2015.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
would it be appropriate to remind people where their precinct voting is? Just to read through the list?
But that's, surely, if you want to do that, go ahead.
Sure. Precinct 1 votes at Town Hall here. Precinct 2 at the Gus Canny Recreation Center. Precinct 3 at Falmouth High School Gymnasium. Precinct 4, St. Anthony's Lodge. Precinct 5, North Falmouth Congregational Church Hall. Precinct 6, Falmouth High School Gymnasium. Precinct 7, Wacoit Congregational Church Hall. Precinct 8, the Navigator Club. Precinct 9, Jewish Congregation Community Center. Some of those voting sites have changed.
Okay, got it.
So I thought it was appropriate.
Yes, thank
that
you
we
very much.
clarify that.
I'm going to poll the annual town election because both copies have 2014 on it. And what you'll have to do is to come back probably tomorrow, the next day, and sign the corrected copies.
Sounds good.
But all the other documents I will forward to you for signatures. And then, oh, wait a minute, you still held the request to repaint and change the wording of the Gus Canny Recreation Center?
Right. Did we vote? I guess we.
Did you want to read that, or did you want to comment on it?
I just wanted to make sure people were aware that there had been some discussion, I know, in the rec department about what the sign was going to say. And I just wanted to have that be a brief discussion so that people knew what it was going to be saying. I wasn't sure whether Helen wanted to.
Did you want to say something about it, Helen?
Chairman Sandy Cuny from the Recreation Committee was going to be here. I don't know where she is, but there was a request from the Carlo Pina family that came before the Recreation Committee a couple of months ago about possibly getting the name Carlo Pina Gymnasium put on the sign out in front. So what we did was we looked at the sign. I think that you have a copy of it. And we noticed on the sign that a couple of things that are on the present sign are no longer there. The first thing is the Artist Guild and also the Wiswald Fieldhouse. So we thought that it would be a good opportunity to make the changes and put in the Carlo Pina Memorial Gymnasium. And also the basketball court, that it's also on the property of the J. Corey basketball court. So that's our request. And remove the 2 items that are no longer in existence.
I would move approval of the support of the recommendation of the move approval of the recommendation of the Recreation Department.
Great.
Second.
Change the sign.
Thank you.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Helen. Thanks for being here. The public hearings, first of all, I might say the very first public hearing, which was to be held at 7:30, an application for a new wine and malt package store license, MPG Corporation, DBA Rapid Refill, 435 Palmer Avenue, is continued until May 18th. So we won't begin the public hearings until 7:45, so we're going to ask the chief if he would give his quarterly report now, so he can go home and spend a little more time at home.
Thank you. Happy to do it. This is my second quarterly report to you, and I'm happy to report, as you're aware, we have 58 funded positions, and I'm happy to report all 58 positions are filled. Not all working yet. I'll explain that, but all 58 funded positions are filled.
Wow.
Currently, there are...
Wow, that deserves
It was-
applause. That's great.
Yeah, it's exciting. You know, as I said in my last report, we're going to have a lot of new officers this year. Currently, right now, there are 47 officers available to our working, and that includes myself. Right now, I have 2 officers out, line of duty injury. One of them from last year from an ATV accident, one of our town vehicles. And I have another detective, David Massey. He went out this winter while conducting a search warrant. He slipped on some ice and injured his leg. Hopefully he'll be back soon. I have one officer military leave, that's Officer Anthony DeVito. And then I have 2 officers who are just out sick for personal reasons. Currently, right now, we have 7 officers in academies. We have 4 of our officers are attending the Plymouth Academy, which started in March of 2015. And in that academy is Megan Andrade, Timothy Brandt, Ryan Hurt, and Stephen Senior. And they're in their, I think they just finished their 7th week, so they started their 8th week. The Plymouth Police Academy is a 22-week program, and they're expected to graduate August 21st, 2015. The state opened the Randolph Academy. It had been closed since back in 2010 when the budget cuts. And we have 3 officers attending that academy, and that started on May 4th, 2015. And in that academy, we have Newton Cardoza, John DuPont, and Jay Coyne. And they're starting their 2nd week. And that academy is a 26-week academy. And they're expected to graduate the end of October 2015. So with that 7 and the 4 we just finished their FTO training, they are out on their own. They're working midnights. And that is Julia Massey, Christopher Livingston, Donald D. Miranda, and Michael Godfilia. So that brings the department. We're starting to staff the department. So pretty excited about that. And because of that staffing level coming up, I'm going to start rotating some officers around and adding back to the detective division, as I said I would. In September 2015, Officer Jamie Livingston will become the town's new SRO, and she'll be assigned to the high school and the Lawrence School. And Officer Andrew Lowen, who's currently our SRO, he'll be coming out of the schools, and I'll be rotating him into the detective division. We are expecting, with all that good news, there's more. We are expecting a retirement sometime this summer of Detective Robert Murray.
Oh.
Dispatch. I believe Wednesday we'll be doing some interviews for a 16-hour position. That's a Saturday, Sunday position. We had gone through the interviews, I think the last time I had spoken with you, and we were about ready to offer a young lady a job, and she took a job somewhere else. So we went back to that again. And also, we'll be looking to hire a full-time dispatcher on midnights. The officer I told you, the student officer, Newton Cardoza, he was our full-time dispatcher. And he took the exam, and he's a police officer. Or he'll be a police officer in 26 weeks. So we'll be doing those, we'll be looking to do that hiring. I'm also in the process of interviewing some summer officers. I spoke before about adding some summer officers, and as you saw in the budget coming up, I'll have some money was put towards summer officers. So right now we're looking, I think we have 2 we've interviewed, and one of them is a really good prospect. He has been to a full academy. In fact, he's a veteran, and the Veterans Administration just held a full academy for veterans only. So when these veterans come down on the civil service list, or any police department looks to hire them, they're already academy trained, so you're that much ahead. So we're looking at a couple of them. So I'm looking to put an officer on Main Street, put an officer on Woods Hole, and again up at Old Silver Beach for the beaches there this summer. So our new phone system. I'm happy to say it's up and running. You saw a while ago we put out some information about a new phone number, and that new phone number is, and it does work, as well as the old phone number still work too. It will get you to us. The new number is 774-255-4527. There were some software issues. The phone system has been up and running now a couple of weeks. We're actually running both phone systems, and the new phone system seems to be working fine. And working with IT and everything else, probably the end of the month, we will completely sever from the old phone system and we will be on the new phone system. But there was some software issues, like anything you think would run smooth, it didn't, but it's up and running and it's working well, so happy about that. I gave you some stats as far as our detective and our call response. Detective division, since February 1st till now, 19 undercover buys, 7 warrant arrests, 4 search warrants. We've seized $3,371 in drug seizures. We've got 3 Superior Court indictments, and we've purchased 1 handgun in our bodies. Some of the narcotics that we're dealing with are marijuana, methamphetamine, cocaine, Percocets, and heroin. And I'll speak briefly on that too, about the overdoses, because it is in everybody's mind. It's in the paper every day. We're responding to, just like I say, about 1 or 2 overdoses a week. So far, the police department has responded to a total of 43 overdoses. The overdoses resulting in a death of 6 individuals. Overdose saved by police officers using Narcan, 2. Most of the time when someone calls on an overdose, they dial 911, and of course it's police, fire, or rescue, and they're calling for rescue. So we're responding with them. The fire department's using a lot more Narcan than we are, and reviving a lot more people. So that's a great thing. On a positive note, a proactive note, what we're doing in the police department is we've partnered with Gosnell a little bit more, and Sergeant Michael Semino meets with what he does at the end of the week. He'll go over and retrieve all the names of anybody we responded to for overdoses, and partner with Gosnell. They send a counselor, and we go and knock on their doors, the people who we've saved, the people who have overdosed, and speak with them and their families and let them know that there are services out there for them. And I'm also happy to say that the 2 times that we've been out, 2 people have been admitted because they wanted to be admitted to Gosnell. So it's a good program, it's working well. And I'm also looking at starting a similar program with the mental health issues in town, and I've been speaking with Karen Cadera in Human Services. So what we'll do is we'll end up pairing an officer with a counselor, and we'll go and visit these people and let them know that there are services out there for them. So those are the proactive pieces that we're trying to take on this. Calls for services. It's during the same period of time. Self-initiated calls, as I've explained before, these are the ones that the officers initiate, from a motor vehicle stop to checking on people's welfare. Since February 2nd, it's been 2,854. Dispatch calls, the ones that come through the dispatch center, 3,709, for a total of 6,563 calls. Call volumes are up 6.3% to a similar time last year. So we're busy. I think when the weather broke, everybody get out. Our Falmouth Police webpage, our new webpage, if you go to the Falmouth Police, try to search for our webpage, you'll find there's a sign on there that says we're under construction. We have a brand new webpage coming out, and it's going to be user-friendly, where you'll be able to get the information that you're looking for. You'll also be able to, register your alarms. You can request accident reports. It's going to be really something that is up to date compared to the one that we had. In fact, the one that we had, we couldn't change because the software is no longer available. So we're hoping sometime by the end of the month that will be up and running. But on a positive note, the social media side of the police department, the Facebook and Twitter, please follow us on there. We put a lot of information out there, and it's become very popular.
Just a quick question on the website. Will that be found directly through the town website?
It will be connected. There'll be all sorts of connection to the chamber, to the town of Falmouth, and things like that.
Excellent.
And like I said, the young lady that's building it assures me that she's built a lot of different websites, some in town, and that it will be very user-friendly so that it can connect, which our old website did not. So.
Great.
So we're excited about that. Another program, which I know you'll recall here, we didn't invent it, other departments are doing it. We're going to start, and it's going to be on our Facebook page, and there'll be a press release coming out very shortly, called Safe Sales. Safe Sales is a program that we will be allowing people in the town to use the front of the police station. For example, when you purchase items online, such as Craigslist or something like that, you don't really want to be meeting these people. You don't know who you're meeting. I mean, we've been fortunate in this area not to have any issues. I believe the Yarmouth Police rolled something similar to this out, and there were some other departments that rolled others out too. Police officers will not be on hand for your transaction. We're not going to be in the middle. We're not going to guarantee what you're purchasing. What we're doing is giving you a safe location to meet, and we're suggesting in front of the police station. It is recorded, and then if there is an issue, you can always come in and get a police officer. So that will be rolled out this week. We'll probably see something in the paper. And then some of our upcoming events. We have our police memorial on Wednesday, May 13th at 10 o'clock in front of the police station. And again, all the public is invited, this is an annual event that we have that honors all fallen police officers, especially Officer Samuel Pierce, who was a Falmouth police officer who died in the line of duty August 16, 1933, right here in Falmouth. And we are currently in the process of gearing up and dealing and preparing for our major events: the street fair, the powwow, the 4th of July, and the road race. That's what's happening in your police department. Any questions?
Getting ready for a big summer.
Thank you.
Have any questions? No?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, very much.
Thank you.
Let's,
License renewals?
I thought, let's go to about the last page here, and we'll skip the interview at the moment for conservation, but move to the request for the sign variance for Molly's Parking, Palmer Avenue Depot, and you won't have to sit here any longer. I've been thinking about you since 7 o'clock.
All right, I'm Ben Mezzacappa, representing Molly's Parking. I'm here every year for the same reason. We have our handheld sign. So far, so good. Haven't been any problems, and we're requesting it again. So in short, that's it. You know most of the details, I think. This entire group has heard this one before, so.
Does anyone have any questions?
It looked very familiar.
They do this every year. We had some issues in the beginning, but they've all been worked out, and I think recently it's worked very well.
Yeah.
Ben. Yeah.
I
So,
would move approval of the sign variance for Molly's Parking for a hand sign, a sandwich board sign, and the third sign is actually on your property itself, so that's on premises, so we don't really need to do a sign variance for that one.
right.
Second?
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Great, thank you so much.
Happy summer.
I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
Okay, Ben.
Madam Chair, can I clarify
Sure.
that all the conditions remain the same as
Yes.
the board had in the
Oh,
past
yes.
year?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move to the seasonal licenses. I can find them in the back here.
I think we only have one, which is the secondhand
That's
dealer
right.
for Homigan Consignments, and I would move approval
Only
of the
one.
secondhand dealer license for Homigan Consignments.
All right.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. And now we will go to, let's see.
Concom candidate is here.
Yeah, is there a candidate here for the Conservation Commission? Yes.
Okay.
Could you tell us your name, please?
Jamie Matthews.
Jamie Matthews. Would you like to come up to the podium and introduce yourself and tell us why you'd like to be a member of the Conservation Commission?
Good evening.
Good
My name's
evening.
Jamie Matthews. I'm here in support of my application to become a conservation member. I've been a resident of Falmouth for over 50 years. Look forward to doing my part in the community. Though I lack the formal education in wetlands and wildlife habitat, I've been in the building trades for over 30 years, and I've been on the implementation side, and I believe this experience will help me help others. I think I can bring a fresh perspective, someone that's been on the other side of that fence, and I think I can help others to achieve that goal. I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this process. Thank you for your time.
Okay. I want to remind the board that there is a full member vacancy. It's an unexpired term that runs until June 30th of this year, and it's a full-time. And then we have 3 alternate members open too. 2 are unexpired terms that end on June 30th, 2016, and 1 unexpired term that ends on June 30th, 2017.
My understanding was I was applying for a permanent position, 2-year position. Yes.
Well, the permanent would be the full member, but the term ends this June, so you'd have to just come back and reapply for another full term.
Okay.
And then the alternate members, they just stay until there becomes a vacancy, and then they usually move up to the full permanent member. At least that's what I'm seeing here. Are you seeing the same thing I am?
We do have a second applicant for this.
But we also have another applicant too that we would want to interview who isn't here right now. So let's ask questions of Mr. Matthews while he's here.
Mr. Matthews, are you at all familiar with the new FEMA regulations and the impact on the quality of construction?
Yes. Being in the building trades, particularly where it applies to new housing, remodels, that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Doug.
In the Conservation Commission, you are a regulatory board that is upholding the regulations for the wetlands and for conservation. What do you see your role on the board as being when an applicant comes forward with an application?
Well, again, having been on the implementation side of following the regulations, and that's where I think I can help to achieve compliance.
In some of your building projects, have you run into difficulties, say with conservation restrictions on, say, the land where you're building a house, and that you've had to come to the Concom and try and sort them out? Has that ever happened?
Yes and no. I mean, I'd say most of it is the interpretation of the regulations, or misinterpretation. And again, that's where I think I can help, because I've been on that side more than, well, completely more than the other side. I feel that having been on that side, I would know further what other people are looking or need to do. That's where I think I can help best.
Becky.
I think the Conservation Committee, for some people in town, maybe they disagree. They disagree because whatever they wanted to change or to have on their personal property, and there's something with conservation. And when you look at a situation like that, I think about your background, and I think about the resident who needs something to change on their property, and I just kind of wonder how you handle that.
I think I'd have an easier perspective seeing it from their side. What they're looking to accomplish, of course, what the town wants them to preserve. I think with anything, there's a middle ground. And I think, again, being repetitive, but having been on that side, I can see the difficulties of trying to comply with some of the issues, and therefore can help find a middle ground to serve both purposes.
I am going to assume you know how important the Conservation Committee is to this
Absolutely.
town. Okay. And that's obvious to remain.
Yes.
And so it's kind of the devotion to it. And I think if you have those feelings, then everything works out well with conservation. But there's a lot of areas in Falmouth that conservation is very important, that they remain as they are. And that
Absolutely.
we stay green and we don't continue to have
And I'd like
too
to
much
participate
snow.
in that.
Yep. Okay, I just wanted to hear how you're going to answer. Thank you.
Anybody else? Sam?
Well, just to mention, as a liaison to the Conservation Commission, there's an important need to fill that permanent position right now.
Right.
To get a quorum over the next, I guess, really by Wednesday. So, I think we as a selectmen should be taking some action to put a member onto that board so that they have a quorum on Wednesday.
Right. Well, we have one more interview tonight.
Okay.
And then I think we need to make a decision tonight, as you say, to get that other permanent member
But,
on
you
there.
know, given the
So,
fact
and
that
we're not sure,
we have
because,
alternate positions as well as permanent positions.
Right.
So we have several positions to fill.
right.
Just saying, I'm not, are you suggesting that we table the decision? on the
No,
permanent
I'm
position?
suggesting that the interviews were scheduled for after 8:10.
I see.
And it's now only 20 of 8, so I think it's only fair to give the other individual who's coming for an interview the opportunity to be interviewed before we make a decision. But we will make a decision tonight after the second interview.
Good.
That we have two hearings, one scheduled at 7:45 and one at 8. And
Yeah.
we have to hold those hearings at that time, at those times posted. And I think it does make sense to wait on our decision of appointing anybody until we've interviewed the other candidate.
The other candidate.
Which, so that whole thing probably won't happen until 8:30 that we make that decision.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, and thank you for applying.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're close enough to 7:45 that we can open the hearing for the, I'll read the hearing notice. Notice is hereby given under Chapter 138 of the General Laws as amended, that the Cape Club, Inc. has applied for a transfer of ownership, an alteration of premises, a pledge of stock, and a pledge of license of the all-alcoholic common victualler license located at 125 Falmouth Woods Road, East Falmouth, Mass. A hearing will be held in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, Falmouth Town Hall, on Monday, May 11th, 2015, at 7:45 PM on the above application. So is there someone here representing the applicant? Looks like there is.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Good evening.
Members of the board, my name is Kevin Clower. I'm an attorney with Ament Law Firm here in Falmouth, and I represent the Cape Club, Inc. this evening. Before I get started, I did want to provide you with the affidavit of notice to mailing of butters. We do have a number of return cards, not quite all that have made their way back in yet.
Okay,
That is
thank
what
you.
we do have as of this. As some of you may know, there was a transfer in the ownership of the property known as Ballymead Golf Club sometime in February of this year. The property was purchased by FWG LLC and is now to be entirely leased by the Cape Club. The Cape Club is represented by Mark Drago. Mark is here with me in the audience this evening. We're here to seek the following. We are applying for a transfer of the liquor license from New Falmouth Woods LLC to the Cape Club. We're applying for a pledge of the license and a pledge of the stock, and as well as an alteration of the license to permit the entire 18-hole golf course to be part of the permit. These changes will allow the Cape Club to meet the expectation and needs of their clients and work to make this a premier destination for golfing again. The expansion of the permit to include the 18-hole golf course is in line with other golf clubs in the area. The Woods Hole Golf Club, the Cape Cod Country Club, and the Falmouth Country Club all are permitted for the entire 18-hole golf course. The only significant difference is all of those clubs involve crossing at least one public way. This club does not, so there'll be no crossing public ways with this license. Mr. Drago will be the manager of record for the club. He has a very varied and interesting work history. He's been the assistant to Governors William Weld, Paul Salucci, and Jane Swift. He was the executive director for film and entertainment for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. He was a coordinator working on the World Cup soccer matches, the Ryder Cup, Deutsche Bank Championship, and many other events. Most recently, he was the vice president of the International Golf Club and Resort in Bolton. And actually, just a few months ago, was awarded the Silver Medal from the Humane Society of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for his actions in saving a neighbor's life during a fire. So when we look for someone with upstanding moral character, I think those speak to themselves. He is tip certified. His staff will all be tip certified. One significant change I wanted to mention regarding the club is the club will now be a public course and will be open to the club, and the course and the club itself will be open to the public. Mr. Drago is looking forward to the challenge of revitalizing the club, working with neighbors, and establishing this as a premier destination for golfing and dining. I, along with Mark, will be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding this application.
So Mr. Drago has purchased the club and the course?
He is, he's the manager
No.
of...
No? I mean, I'm just...
I think he's purchased it.
No,
I mean,
the club was purchased by FWG LLC,
Okay.
and it's being
And he is-
leased. It's being leased to Mr.
Leased
Drago.
to him, okay.
Yes.
I was going to say, that'd be a big bite. Okay, but you are leasing the clubhouse? No,
Just the
general management of the property itself.
general management, okay. Oh, I see, okay. I did read all that, but I mean, it's,
There's a lot,
there's
of
a
moving
lot
parts
to
there,
read,
yes.
yes. Okay. All right, and Doug, you have a
I
question?
have 3 questions. And so the whole 18-hole course, having the license, would it be a cart driving around, or would there be stations in which people can purchase? And you'll have to come to the microphone and introduce yourself and answer that. Or is it just you can purchase at the clubhouse and drive around with the...
Both. We're looking to get license for both.
We'll
That's
be,
possible.
we'll be seeking licenses from the state for the under 13822 for the transportation carts. There will be sales from the clubhouse, and potentially there's discussion of some sort of halfway area being set up for sale.
Yeah, but then limiting people to bring their own would be...
Everything's going to be bought here.
Right, there'll be no...
Second 2 things aren't as relevant to the license, but just so I understand, the private course across the street will still be there as a private course. This is not all related to
That
any of it.
remains owned by New Falmouth Woods LLC.
And when do you expect to be able to open, or are you open now?
The golf course will probably open next year,
Okay,
renovating this year.
okay. So it will be closed this,
Clubhouse
which is what we had heard, is that it was going to be closed this year. But
Yeah, and the clubhouse will probably open in the next 2 months.
Becky?
There was a lot to read. So as I'm putting all of this together, you're saying that the clubhouse is now connected to the golf course, 18 holes, and you're looking for a license for, the difference is it was separate previously.
It was owned by the same, but the alcohol license only permitted the clubhouse, not the courses.
Okay, that's the point I'm getting to. So now there will be alcohol with whoever the customers, the golfers, anywhere in the 18 holes and the clubhouse.
Correct.
And that is going to be sold through what process?
There's a few ways we're looking at right now. The transportation car, beverage carts, which would require the transportation license. It will be sold from the clubhouse. There's an outdoor area where the pool is right now that currently serves, which you'll be able to bring from the clubhouse onto the course. And there's some discussion about potentially setting up some sort of halfway area for purchases on the course. But that's a preliminary discussion at this point.
Do we
that's
need
in
to
line
know
with,
that before we decide?
I think that's in line with the other courses.
Over the past few years, since the ABCC has allowed it, most of all the golf courses in town now serve beverages on the course in a similar fashion. The Cape Cod Country Club, the Falmouth Country Club,
And Woods Hole Golf Club.
and the Woods Hole Golf Club all do it. And they have been for the last several years. So. And we've never really had any complaints that I'm aware of from people at the golf course.
And I do know that the previous applications haven't necessarily have been determined exactly what the means of service will be,
Right.
whether or not they do intend to set up a halfway area or not. That's been an open question at many of the application hearings.
where you're thinking near the 6th and 13th holes where the...
In that area, correct.
So any alcohol that anyone consumes, either in the clubhouse or on the course, is sold to that golfer, to that person?
We discourage people bringing their own.
Well, does it work?
Well, we haven't been permitted yet. But I think with the other clubs, I don't think it's been an issue.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think you have a title here for us as President, Treasurer, and Secretary, and live in Melrose, is that correct?
Currently considering becoming a Falmouth resident. He's looking for property down this way.
Won't take him long to decide. Thank you.
I would move approval.
Well, wait a minute, no,
Okay,
no,
to
we
close the
have
hearing, that's right.
no, we have to, before we close the hearing, we have to ask if there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this license. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the license?
I move to close the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Now, does the
Any
board have
discussion?
any other discussion regarding this license application? Mr. Drago or Mr. Clark? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I would move approval of the transfer of the all alcohol liquor license, the alteration of licensed premises, the pledge of stock, and the pledge of license for the Cape Club, Inc., 125 Falmouth Woods Road.
Second.
Second? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Best of luck in your new endeavor. At least you're not the owner. You don't have that headaches, right? Oh,
Scared him.
sorry for that. Okay, now the next public hearing, well, our two members are here, so I think we'll proceed, is an application for the transfer of a shellfish aquaculture license from Daniel M. Fugier to Matthew V. Weeks, an extension of the Shellfish Grant Nantucket Sound. So notice is hereby given that on April 24th, 2015, Daniel M. Fugier of 24 Sandwich Road, East Falmouth, Mass. 02536, and Matthew V. Weeks of 282 Trotting Park Road, T-Ticket, Mass. 02536, applied pursuant to MGL Chapter 130, Section 57 through 60, for one renewal of a current lease of 5 years of the Shellfish Grant dated January 24th, 2012, issued to Daniel Fugier, and for two, the transfer thereof to Matthew V. Weeks. Legal description of a shellfish aquaculture permit for a .28 acre L-shaped area consisting of 2 abutting rectangular sections in the waters of Nantucket Sound, approximately 600 feet from shore, Washburn Island, and 700 feet from the mouth of Eel Pond. The Selectmen will hold a public hearing on the said application for shellfish grant renewal and transfer in Falmouth Town Hall, Selectmen's Meeting Room, 59 Town Hall Square, Falmouth, Mass. 02540, at 8 p.m. on Monday, May 11th, 2015. So, Matt, who wants to go first?
Matt Weeks, Trotting Park Road. Petitioning to have a transfer for.
Yep, I'm Daniel Fugier, 24 Sandwich Road.
Okay. And this is that L-shaped parcel.
Yeah, it's the same boundaries as it's been the last.
And when did you actually receive this license, Matt?
It was 2011.
2011. And
I transferred it to Dan. And then Dan's had it for the last 2 years.
and now he wants to transfer it back to you.
And this is because you couldn't have it when you were an employee of the town. That's the reason
Oh,
the first transfer.
I see. Okay, that makes sense, doesn't it?
And you are no longer going to be an employee of the town. I assume that's what's happening now.
Okay. Any questions?
How's it gone, Daniel? How's it gone?
How's the what?
How has it gone?
Well, I don't have the time right now. I have a little boy at home, so it's a good time to transfer it back to Matt.
But has it been successful the past 2 years?
Yeah, it's been good. I didn't do much with it the past year, but it's a good site.
Sam, you had a question?
Yes, I assume a number of standard conditions and special conditions that were associated with this parcel?
Yeah, there's an order of conditions from Conservation.
Conservation
Still
Commission.
carried over.
And those will be, yeah, and you understand this is previously held that license. Thank you.
Becky?
I just have to have a personal comment about the two of you. I think this is fantastic that this started, and then there was an issue with the town because of your employment, so your friend took it. And then after a while, your friend said, well, I don't know what to do with it, and you made arrangements, and now you have it back. I don't know that I've ever heard of this happening. I guess you're good friends, and it worked. And I think it's most interesting. It's, you didn't have any problem finding out who was going to take care of it, and you're doing exactly what you want. That's good.
Worked out well.
It certainly did.
Okay, so is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this license transfer? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition?
I move we close the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Any further discussion on the part of the board, or is there a motion?
I would move the approval of the transfer of shellfish aquaculture license from Daniel Filger to Matthew F. Weeks, and the extension of the shellfish grant for an additional renewal of the current lease of 5 years.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. It's done.
Thank you.
There you go. Now we're running out of things to do. I don't suppose
That
Mass
has
DOT
never
is here
happened.
yet. And
Their
our
PowerPoint's here, but they're not
Conservation
here.
Commissioner, we've done the license renewal, so we really have nothing more to do. If you want to take a recess till somebody shows up, we can do that.
I'll call Maury. I'll call Maury while you do that.
Yeah, all right, then I'm going to take a recess until we have, oh, Peter.
The mascot, they are here.
Oh, are they? Where are they?
They're out in the car.
Oh, well, let's go get them in.
Yep, let's do that one.
Well, good. I'd like to keep going.
There you go.
Yeah, me too. My feet are frozen. I'm frozen.
Oh,
Sorry, Pat. You can do reports if you want, Pat.
Huh?
You can do some reports if you want.
No, we're
I
going to
guess
do,
they're
the DOT is here. We're a little early, so we're glad you were here.
We're ahead of schedule.
Yeah, we
We
are
are.
ahead of
We are.
schedule. Doesn't usually happen.
I just want to start by thanking you all for
You
letting
need
us
to,
come down.
What?
you need to grab the microphone.
Oh, yeah. If you start at the podium and introduce yourselves, that will be great. And use a microphone anytime you speak. So it's people at home. It's for TV. It's not for sound.
It's for the TV broadcast.
And have some lights.
okay.
My name's Tom Courier. I'm with MassDOT Highway Division. I work in Boston. And we have a small group with us tonight. I just wanted to start by thanking you for making time for us to come down one more time to make our case for the roundabout option at the Route 28A 151 intersection. We just want you to understand
It's the ones labeled red.
that we do strongly feel that that's a better option. However, we want you to have an informed opinion, and that's why we're here tonight, to give you another presentation on roundabouts. And we have Eric Mackey from Tetra Tech. He's your design engineer, and that's Bill Travers from our District 5 office. This is Andrew Paul and Ed Myers from Kittleson, and they specialize in roundabouts. Ed practically. And so with that, I'm going to let Andy take over, or Ed take over, and we'll get right into the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Sure.
Okay, we'll get right into the presentation. Just a little bit of background. I didn't invent roundabouts, but I've been involved in the design of them for about 25 years, starting in Maryland, which was one of the first states to adopt roundabouts. And over 20 years, I've been involved in designing, doing peer reviews, feasibility studies. Also have been involved in all of the national research, or most of the national research related to roundabouts, including there have been 2 national roundabout guidebooks, and myself personally and our firm has written both of those, and the ongoing research into the operations analysis, geometric design, we've been involved in that. I have over 30 years of experience in engineering. Much of that has been involved with roundabouts. As I mentioned, Maryland is one of the first states to adopt roundabouts, and I happen to be, not because I'm from England or Australia where they have a lot of roundabouts, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time and got involved in all of those projects. I continue to be involved in Maryland and Pennsylvania, Kansas, Virginia, a lot of other states doing consulting work related to roundabouts. It's not all that I do, but that's a lot of what I've done. Also teach a lot of courses. In fact, Andy and I are going to be teaching a course in Worcester on Friday on roundabouts, and that'll be the 5th in a series of 5 that we've taught around the state. Andy, who works for Kittleson, was the former MassDOT roundabout coordinator and held that position for about 3 or 4 years. So he also has a lot of experience, in particular related to Massachusetts roundabouts. Also very involved in the national level in research. He's involved in a research project now related to what other states are doing, sort of synthesizing what other states are doing. So getting into the Falmouth Roundabout project, on November 24th, so about six or 7 months ago or so, you all wrote a letter to the state listing your concerns for the proposed roundabout at 28A and 151, and the concerns that you had are why a roundabout, why not just put the signal in, the signal conversion operations, how it deals with emergency vehicles, commercial vehicles, tourism, unfamiliar drivers, is that going to be a problem, or you think it's going to be a problem, and then pedestrians and bicycles. And then so now I'll turn it over to Andy, and he's going to go over those questions, and Andy and I will be available after the presentation, or you can feel free if you have questions at any point along the way to go ahead and raise those, and we'll be here to answer any questions you have. So with that, I'll turn it over to Andy.
For the record, it's Worcester, no, Worcester. That's all right. Well, thank you, everyone, for your time. So why a roundabout? These were some of the issues that were identified in the road safety audit that was posted last March 2014. There was geometric issues, speed, bicycle and pedestrian access, and crosswalks and sign issues at the intersection. Through the road safety audit, a roundabout was identified as a countermeasure that could be used for improving the safety at this intersection. 22 of the crashes at the intersection that were reported over a 3-year period, of the 22 crashes, 45% were turns at the intersection. 5 injury crashes, 60% were at the 60% of the crashes were turns at the intersection. A crash rate of 1.27 was found at the intersection. That's per million entering vehicles. The crash rate is used to compare intersections and corridors across the state, and there's a listing below of the crash rates for signalized intersections and unsignalized intersections. We've highlighted District 5, where Falmouth is located, where the average crash rate for signalized intersections is 0.77. So you can see it's 64% higher at this location. So the crashes are occurring were turns, and they were significantly higher than what the average is for District 5. So how does a roundabout compare to a traffic signal? One of the number one reasons why a traffic signal is safer than, rather a roundabout is safer than a traffic signal is because of the areas within the intersection where a crash can occur are reduced. You can see on the left there are 8 vehicle conflict points within the intersection as compared to 32 vehicle conflict points within the intersection. So the number of locations is reduced, but also the angle at which the crash is occurring is a less severe occurrence of that crash. So you can see on the left, many of those, any crashes of the 8 conflict points are sideswipe or rear end crashes. So the rear end you can see is the red dot where a vehicle can rear end a vehicle that's approaching the roundabout. The sideswipe, it occurs within the circular intersection where an entering vehicle may not yield to a circulating vehicle. Whereas at a traffic signal, the crashes that can occur are angle crashes and rear-end crashes and many other crashes. Those crashes result in more severe injury at locations, and those were studied in NCHRP 672, which Kittleson worked on, which is the current federal guidance for roundabout design. As you can see here, the study showed that the reduction in fatal crashes at roundabouts when compared to a signalized intersection were 90% reduction. Reduction in injury crashes were 75%, and a reduction in pedestrian crashes were between 30 and 40%, and a 10% reduction in bicycle crashes. So not only are there less crashes occurring when you replace a signalized intersection with a roundabout, but they're also less severe crashes. Another issue that was raised in the road safety audit was speed at the intersection. As you can see, the approaches to this intersection are between 35 and 45 miles per hour on 3 of the 4 approaches. The average speeds at roundabouts, a well-designed roundabout, is between 20 and 25 miles per hour. And the way that reduction in speed is accomplished is through the geometry of the approach roadways. As you can see from this image, the approach vehicle is deflected before it's entered into the intersection, and that deflection, that radius of the entry roadway, is similar to the circulatory roadway. So you can see that the approach road, the driver is entering at anywhere between 18 and 22 miles per hour. Once they're in the circulatory roadway, that speed is similarly maintained, where they're traveling about 20 to 25 miles per hour. So this reduction in speed is also safer for pedestrians at the intersection. The bar graph on the bottom right shows the percent chance of a pedestrian, if hit by a motor vehicle, has of fatality. So if you look back at the approach speeds for the intersection as it exists today, between 35 and 45 miles per hour, as opposed to the operating speeds of 20 to 25 miles per hour, the likelihood of fatality is significantly increased at the operating speeds of 40 miles per hour as compared to 20 miles per hour. You have a 5% chance of fatality at 20 miles per hour as opposed to 80% chance of fatality at 40 miles per hour. There's also been some recent research done by the Transportation Research Board that's shown that vehicles are 4 times more likely to yield to a pedestrian when traveling at 20 miles per hour as opposed to 40 miles per hour. So vehicles are more likely to yield at slower speeds. Pedestrians are also more comfortable crossing at a roundabout because it's a 2-staged crossing. You can observe in this picture the pedestrian is waiting at a pedestrian refuge area. That splitter island where the entry and the exit to the roundabout are separated acts as a refuge area where the pedestrian only has to cross one stream of traffic at a time. The example of the Falmouth is proposed to be similar in nature, where it's a single lane roundabout. And that reduces the amount of decisions that the driver needs to make and the pedestrian needs to make when they're only crossing one leg of the roundabout at a time. It's also occurring at a slower speed, where the vehicle is only operating at 20-25 miles per hour. So the perception reaction time, when the driver needs to observe a pedestrian crossing and then slow down, that distance that they need to stop is significantly reduced when they're operating at a slower speed. The same goes for bicycles in a roundabout. When operating in a roundabout, bicycles are traveling at a similar speed complementary to the vehicles within the roadway. At a single lane roundabout, you'll see operating speeds anywhere between 15 and 20 miles per hour. That's similar to speeds of a bicycle. You will have an option, however, as a cyclist, in many cases, to not use the circulatory roadway, but instead use a parallel facility on a shared use path around the circulatory roadway. One of the questions that was asked was the diverse driver population using this facility in Falmouth. There were tourists, there were many other users that may be unfamiliar with the area. The AARP supports roundabouts because they require slower vehicle speeds, they reduce collision severity, and they eliminate the need to make left turns. There are no left turns at signalized intersections. converting signals to roundabouts has been done throughout the country, hundreds of examples, but it's also been done locally here in Massachusetts. This example is from UMass Amherst. This is just on the north edge of their campus, where in 2009 a signal was converted to a roundabout. And this example here in Hudson, Massachusetts on Route 85, where a signal was converted to a roundabout, and this just opened the past year. So the operations in Falmouth were looked at, and they found that during the design year, the 2034 design year, the morning and PM peak hours, at all levels of comparison, the roundabout operated better with less delay to the drivers in the intersection than the signal did. In some cases, in the morning peak hour, you can see 3 times less delay. Emergency vehicles operate through roundabouts throughout the country. In these 2 examples, you can see them navigating through the circle. There's a truck apron to the left of the ambulance in the left side picture. That truck apron is used for overtracking of larger vehicles, so ladder trucks or other apparatus that fire and emergency response use to get through the intersection can get through the intersection. I think the question was asked about whether or not there would be room for emergency response vehicles to pass other vehicles in the roadway that were pulling over. The average width of your travel lane is between 13 and 18 feet on the approaches, and the circulatory roadway is a 15-foot width, 15 and 18-foot width with a overtracking truck apron as well, so that increases the width of the roadway and allows for vehicles to pass on the approaches and departures. People also will use similar rules of the road as far as pulling over in advance or going through the intersection like you would at a signalized intersection rather than just stopping within the intersection. And there are some videos here. We'll leave the PowerPoint presentation with you if you'd like to link to fire chiefs and other emergency response folks throughout the country that have roundabouts in their community. One of the questions that was also raised in the letter was about roundabouts being built in a variety of contexts. And you can see here they've been built in rural state highways, they've been built in downtowns areas, town centers, commercial areas, at interchanges. So roundabouts are a traffic tool, a mechanism where you can manage traffic. It's not that they're only applied in one certain context. They can be applied in many contexts, and they need to be designed appropriate for the context that they're being built in. So in a slower speed environment, like you may want, or if it's not desired, it doesn't have to be, but if you were wanting a slower speed context in North Falmouth, it could be designed differently to meet those needs. They've also been designed and built in many different seasonal or tourist areas where traffic volumes fluctuate. This image is from Nantucket, Massachusetts, and this was built just in the past few years. And in Barnstable, this is a multi-lane facility, which would be different than what is being built here, or what is being proposed here in North Falmouth, but it's another example in an area where there is seasonal fluctuation, as well as in Oak Bluffs on Martha's Vineyard. And this is in Annapolis, Maryland, where it's, again, a multi-lane facility, but in a seasonal area where there are volume fluctuations. Another point I want to make, though, is that based on the analysis that was done, you can look at how the fluctuation in traffic would impact operations, and it seems like, based off the analysis that we've done, it would operate acceptably both in the AM and PM peak periods, but if there were questions about seasonal adjustment, I believe we can answer those as well. Life cycle cost roundabout. One of the questions that was raised was, why put in a roundabout? Why not just rebuild the signal as it is today? Because of the reduction in severe injury accidents, potential of fatalities at intersections, and just crashes in general at the intersection, life cycle costs look at the impact of the societal costs of crashes at that location. So when folks, whether it's insurance rates or other things, these numbers from the National Safety Council are used to calculate life cycle costs. In addition, there's no maintenance required at the roundabout that you would need at a signalized intersection. And with that, I'd like to open up to questions that you all may have, and we can point to other examples if you have questions that you have.
Okay. Anybody have a question? Doug?
How much more space would it take up in that, specifically at 151, in 28A to do a roundabout as opposed to, are we going to be expanding it a little bit wider?
Actually, as it turns out...
You could go to the
Oh,
mic.
sorry.
Yep.
Tom Career. Actually, we wouldn't need any right-of-way for either alternative, signalized or roundabout.
But the footprint of the intersection would look slightly different, obviously with the circular intersection there. In the bottom right of the image, in the image you can see it's light, but the existing intersection behind the proposed roundabout. So the geometry would change slightly, but the overall footprint of the intersection wouldn't need additional right-of-way from adjacent properties. There are larger images here too.
We can leave those.
We'll,
Okay, we'll go down the line. Sam, you're next.
Yes, the pedestrian island
yes.
right in there is, given the fact that we have a very active bike path that
Yes.
stops right on the 28A side, actually on the western side.
Yep.
We're going to see a lot of people crossing over to get to that restaurant on the northeast corner.
Sure.
How wide is that going to be? Can you put 2 or 3 bicyclists in that island and still have traffic flowing through?
Yeah, the suggested design criteria has a minimum width of that island to be 6 feet, which is about the distance from the front to back of the wheel, and a 10-foot wide area. So in that space, you could get 2 easily, 3 if you wanted to. It could be redesigned though to accommodate larger volumes if there was that demand there. Generally, at a crossing, like you have at many pedestrian crossings, the right-of-way is given to the pedestrian. So the idea isn't that you're going to be there for too long and instead cross.
Becky?
I've got a list.
Please.
Okay. I'm a driver.
Yes.
And I'm a driver in a lot of places in Massachusetts and throughout the country, and have been for years. And when I moved to Massachusetts, I met my first Rotary right at Bourne.
Yep.
Now, what I would say to you about a Rotary or roundabout is a new term. I have not seen bicycles, cars, and trucks at a roundabout at the same time. I also have not seen, when I approach, anyone ever crossing. If we would even just go to the one at Bourne, there are no people out there. There are no bicycles. There's just really a lot of trucks and cars coming to the Cape. Where we're talking about at 151 is very commercial, and it's restaurants on 2 corners, and then there's some more stores over on the other side, and people would go do the roundabout, and then if they wanted to walk across, you don't see that. You don't see people at roundabouts.
Well, I think one of the slides here that I point to, there's 113 rotary intersections in Massachusetts. Those have been in existence since the 1930s and 40s, many of them. The 34 roundabouts that have been built in Massachusetts have only been built in the last 15 years and are different in scale. The Bourne Rotary, which you're referring to, is over 400 foot in diameter. The roundabouts that I'm showing you are 1/4 the size of that.
That's right.
So much smaller, so you end up with slower operating speeds. So for pedestrians, they're a much safer environment and a much more welcoming environment than a rotary.
Doesn't that slow down the traffic? If the circle is larger, as in a rotary, there's more cars that are in there at the same time?
You would think so, but the inverse is true. Because when you have slower operating speeds, if you can imagine you're stopped at a stop sign and you're pulling out in front of a vehicle that's approaching. If that vehicle is approaching at a slow speed, you are more likely to judge that as a driver and pull out in front of them and turn if you're in a downtown area like here in Falmouth. Whereas if it were a much higher speed facility, like a Route 28, where vehicles were going faster, you would need much more distance to feel safe pulling out in front of that vehicle. So when you are judging a gap in traffic, you're looking at the distance between the vehicle and your ability to pull out in front of that vehicle. So the analysis shows that oftentimes by reducing the size of the circle, you can actually operate it much more efficiently. We did this in Washington Square in Worcester, where we replaced a 400-foot diameter rotary with a 200-foot diameter roundabout with slower operating speeds that operated more efficiently.
Why are you doing this? What is the purpose? When we sent you a letter and we said we were not interested in this, why is the state, why do they want to have a roundabout at 151 and 28A? Why? What is the purpose?
So I guess you could ask other folks this question, but why I'm interested in doing this is because I have family here in Massachusetts, family that lives on Cape Cod, and I want to build the safest facilities for them to operate on. And that's as a pedestrian, as a bicyclist, and as a motor vehicle operator. And you can see here, a 90% reduction in fatalities is a huge savings for the folks using these intersections. I want to build safer facilities here in Massachusetts, but also in other parts of the country.
So you're going to have trucks, bicycles, cars, and walkers.
Like you would at a traffic signal, yes.
And that's all regulated. And it's all moving at the same time with the roundabout.
Like in many parts of our transportation facility, yes.
Sam?
Yeah, I'm curious about the limitations of a rotary because, I mean, clearly they just took one out at the Sagamore Bridge area, Route 6.
Yep.
Right? And now we're talking about taking out the Bourne Rotary.
Yep.
When do rotaries stop
functioning
in an efficient way? Because it clearly happens.
Yes.
It seems like the volume reaches a certain level, and now you've got extended backups going into rotaries.
Yep.
And I've driven through the airport rotary in Hyannis many times, so the traffic backed up an eighth of a, well, more than an eighth of a mile, probably quarter of a mile.
Yep. So there are different thresholds based on average daily traffic volume that would operate efficiently at a single lane roundabout, a multi-lane roundabout, and then beyond a multi-lane but beyond, say, a double lane roundabout where there are thresholds. Based on the operational analysis that was done for this location, this is well below. You can see here, there's in this graphic it says V/C. That's the volume to capacity ratio. That volume to capacity ratio is based off of the amount of vehicles is the volume. The capacity is the available amount of demand that could operate well at that intersection. The roundabout operates at a 0.63 volume to capacity ratio in the AM morning, and then in the evening it's a 0.85. Once that gets to 1 or above is when you'll see more delays at the intersection. The example that you pointed was the Sagamore Rotary, where you had all of Route 3 coming to Cape Cod and the Cranberry Highway intersecting at a rotary. So that was above the limit of those certain thresholds for a multi-lane facility, where anything would not have, if you put a signal in there, that also wouldn't have operated well. So those are some of the numbers that Tetra Tech looked at in their analysis of this intersection.
Did I get my answer on why you're coming to 151? Did you say to me that it's because
so this intersection, we point out the safety numbers at this intersection in the road safety audit. This was 64% higher. The number of crashes occurring at this location was 64% higher than what the average was at signalized intersections.
Do you see an increase of crashes after you put in a roundabout?
No, this slide shows that you see an overall reduction in injury crashes, crashes in general, fatality crashes, pedestrian crashes, and bicycle crashes. All of those crashes go down when you install a single lane roundabout at an intersection.
Can you talk about roundabouts in a city as Worcester in comparison to a tourist place as Falmouth is?
So this slide
comparing
here at the end, I tried to show that roundabouts have been built in many contexts in these are all specific to Massachusetts. The picture on the middle right is in Worcester, the downtown area, where it was adjacent to a multimodal train and bus facility. The picture just to the left of that in the middle is in North Andover. It's in a town center an antique downtown setting. The top left is a rural state highway in Northampton, Massachusetts, adjacent to a state park and a bike facility, a shared use bike path in the neighborhood. They've also been built in Belmont, the top right image. That's a neighborhood environment. The bottom left is in Barnstable, which some of you may be familiar with, and then in Amherst, Massachusetts. So they've been designed, they've also been built near schools and sports facilities, and in many different contexts. So it's not just one type of facility that can be used for roundabout.
Tell me what you know about Falmouth in the summertime. Or tell me what you know about 151 and 28A. What do you know about that intersection that you could say to me that you know, and I don't mean reading, what do you know about that intersection?
Well, I know from coming to Cape Cod every summer for my entire life.
Let's do 151.
And being a traffic engineer for my entire professional career, that volumes fluctuate. And when you analyze an intersection, whether it's next to Gillette Stadium or here in Falmouth, Massachusetts, that you need to account for specific events throughout the year that are going to occur. I got the opportunity to work on the Fast 14 project in north of Boston, where we were handling interstate traffic on local roadways, closed the entire interstate roadway. I worked on several other projects where there were acute needs to accommodate traffic during peak volume. So what I think we can do is look at some of those needs here in Falmouth and make sure, based on the current design and operational analysis standards, that we're meeting the needs here in Falmouth.
Do you know where that traffic is going? Do you know that when the traffic gets to that intersection, where they're going?
I think they're either going left, right, or through.
And their destination is what?
I think
okay, that's fine.
those same questions can be asked of a traffic signal. That you would design a traffic signal the same way you would, you would look at the operations of a traffic signal the same way you would as a roundabout. So I would just advise that if you were asking these questions, you need to ask them of both types of concepts. And I'm not saying that the roundabout is the only alternative that you can do here. Ed and I work on many signal operations analysis and design as well. And I'm just trying to highlight or answer some of the questions that you asked earlier in your letter.
Okay, Doug, you're next. I'm sorry, did you want to answer?
Sure. Hi, I'm Eric Mackey from Tetra Tech. One thing I just want to point out is you can't just look at the intersection. We need to look at the operation of the bike trail. It crosses at the crest where the railroad crossing is, and the signal is going to operate with the 45-mile-per-hour speeds. Traffic signals are going to be mounted up on mast arms, 20 feet in the air. They're not going to be the post-mounted signals closer to the ground. Drivers are going to have the ability to see those from further back. So they're approaching the signal at 45 miles an hour. They want to make the light, they're in traffic, and they can have better visibility, and they'll keep going. For 151, they'll keep going towards the bike crossing. A roundabout is a full-time traffic calming device. It lets the cars move, but they're moving at 20 to 25 miles an hour, as Andy said. So as they're turning and coming towards that bike crossing, they're operating at a much lower speed. It's a much safer situation, in my opinion, for that bike crossing, which has a lot of people attracted to it.
You have a question?
Two questions. One is, if most of the traffic were a right-hand turn,
yes,
would a rotary or a signalized be better for that?
I hate to say this, but it depends on what the circulating volume is and what that demand is for that specific movement through the intersection.
I've driven that Worcester rotary. It's amazing how well that rotary works for so many terrible intersections in Worcester. That's the one roundabout. I mean, that's the one corner you get to.
Yeah.
When you get to Kelly Square and come back and say you figured you solved that problem, I'll be quite impressed. But
yeah,
this one works really, really nicely.
Well, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Sue?
Sure. How many fatalities has the Route 151 intersection had?
There were 5 injury crashes. I don't believe there were any fatalities at that location. Or I don't know, Eric, if in the data that we looked at there were fatalities.
And in terms of, it just seems to me a lot of your statistics are just inapplicable and you keep going back to them, so I don't really find it that relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So in with respect to the statistics that you pointed out,
Yep.
do you have a breakdown of how many of those are in varying conditions such as seasonal locations?
So the crash statistics for this specific location were taken over a 3-year period.
Yeah.
And were included in the road safety audit. So there were
Okay.
22 crashes.
Okay.
And this is not, I don't know, this is not an easy way to convey this information, so I apologize if it wasn't very clear
Well,
to you.
you know, for example, what it means is whether you have a rotary
Yep.
or a signalized intersection the way it is now, there is not going to be a difference in fatality because, you know, there hasn't been any.
So there have been 5 injury crashes at this specific
Okay, right,
location.
so
So those
at this
injury
one,
crashes
okay.
would be reduced by 75%. So
But the
instead of 5 people going to the hospital, there would be
But
3.75.
the 75% is not based on a seasonal intersection, it's not based on, in other words, it's a broader percentage. It's not based on the particular conditions here, so it's an inflated number again.
No, it's a percentage, so it's,
That exact intersection, that's where those statistics come from.
these crashes were taken from the intersection that we're talking about.
Right, but we're talking.
The overall reduction in crashes,
Right, that's what we're talking about.
that is across the entire, those studies were done in a variety of contexts, and that context is, includes many different facilities. Roundabouts have been built in many different
Right,
contexts.
it's a gross number, it's not based on a parallel situation that we have on
So
151.
that was one study. There have been many, many other studies that have been done that have found very, very similar statistics in reduction, overall reduction in crashes, reduction in injury crashes to motor vehicle operators, pedestrians, and cyclists, but also in fatalities at locations as well. Ed's worked on roundabouts in Maryland, the state of Maryland, for a number of years, and over 150 of them that are in Maryland. There have been, there was only one, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I can point out too, let me see if I can get to the Annapolis roundabout, because this is a really good example of a roundabout in a tourist situation. I don't know, has anyone been to Annapolis, Maryland?
Yeah, I live
Yes,
there.
I did too.
So this is right as you come into the town, and this picture was taken shortly after the roundabout was built, which was in 1998. If you went to this site today, there's a hotel on the right side. I don't know if we have a laser pointer here. On the right side, right next to the hotel, that grass field behind it, it's a 6-story office building. All that came in after the roundabout was built. It's all full of pedestrians walking up and down Main Street. Very few accidents. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, so I don't want to cite something and not have the right number, but very few accidents, and this is a multi-lane roundabout.
On your point, though, our intersection, if I'm correct, seems to be more of a T, where I see this one seems more almost parallel roads. What difference in the numbers would that, based upon your experience, would that make?
Well, in all of these situations, this is kind of a skewed intersection, so it was funny geometry before, but each approach roadway coming into the roundabout, we tried to make it as perpendicular as possible so that you didn't have any high-speed angles. So it's in fact called the Gateway Circle, which I think is something else that you should consider. It's a beautiful gateway into the town, and a roundabout at the intersection and location could be a beautiful gateway into the community. But my point is, there's a lot of pedestrians. This is right in the downtown area. Pedestrians crossing it all the time, more so since it's been built, because there's a 10-story hotel on the right side, a 6-story office building, and very few crashes at this intersection. Like I said, I don't know the actual statistics, but I know that it's low.
Just to answer your specific question, so it was the perfect 90-degree intersection we have at 151 and 28A is actually preferable to this one. It has the maximum amount of distance between the legs, which buys you more decision time.
Nothing to do tonight, though.
If you're choosing to enter the roundabout, you've got more time if that other leg to the left of you is further away. So actually, this intersection with very few accidents has poorer geometry than the one we're talking about tonight.
Well, If there are no other questions, I want to thank you for being here tonight. This was a very, very excellent presentation. I think, at least for me, although I'm a roundabout supporter, so you don't have to convince me of anything. I grew up in Washington, D.C. with circles. As far as I'm concerned, they were roundabouts, but not the safe way as they are today. I also travel through 3 roundabouts in Barnstable every day of the week. The ones near Route 6 and 149, the other one at 149 in Marston's Mills, and the one on Katuitt Road. I don't know if you had anything to do with those, but there are those 3 roundabouts. And the traffic flows very, very smoothly back and forth. I've never seen an issue. People come to the roundabout, they know what it means, they know how to go, they know when to go, they know when to yield to the person who's coming around towards them. And I don't know, I found that they were very safe and very easy to traverse instead of 4-way stop signs, which were very good. But anyway, yes. But Mary, yes, Ms. Hayward. You had a question? You don't have a question?
Yes, may I ask?
Oh, yes, by all means, come to the microphone.
Nancy Hayward, West Falmouth, Precinct 5, 42-year resident in Falmouth, and when it was in existence, the Historical Commission's representative to the Transportation Management Commission. One of the things that we had gotten information about near the end of the existence of that commission was information on roundabouts. I myself am a big proponent of roundabouts. I think they're good traffic control, good speed control. I will not discuss the condition. I use this intersection. I won't discuss what's happened to the traffic in this area because we should stick to the roundabout. I think this is a calming effect. I think it is much easier to get the traffic subdued and slowed down. People don't feel that they can go roaring straight ahead, which is one of the problems in that area. So I was disappointed when talks about this intersection first happened. I have been to other meetings when I sensed that they were not going to discuss having roundabouts. And I hope that progress continues to be made on having a roundabout in this area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hayward. They do develop courteous drivers, I must say. It does have an influence. Anyway, I don't want to get too partial here because the other members of the board have, I think, have had their say. Sam?
I wanted to ask what you're proposing to put there at 151 and 28A. I noticed there's that Annapolis Rotary had a brick crosswalk. I mean, one of the problems that we have, of course, is by the time we're halfway through winter, the lines on the pedestrian crossing are gone. That, to me, is an excellent safety feature if those are like that. I don't know what you're planning to do, but I could see that as a huge benefit if you could do that, so that the vehicle traffic could not ignore that kind of change in pavement.
Those kinds of decisions are primarily up to the town. Aesthetic treatments, granite versus brick or asphalt made to look like brick, plantings, all that's under discussion, and certainly the town's opinion counts more than anyone else's. I do want to say that the state recognizes that it's a state roadway. However, you have to live with whatever goes in here. We understand that, and we just wanted to make this case because we believe that the roundabout, for operational and safety reasons, is the better alternative. However, both will work. We just think the roundabout, and actually factually, the roundabout will work a little better and a little safer, that's all. If you did choose the roundabout alternative or the signal alternative, the crosswalk, treatments and plantings, landscaping, even the style of ornamented, mast arms, if there were money available, is your decision. If you want, ornamental mast arms or period lighting or granite crosswalks or what have you, those kinds of decisions can be made in concert with you. And really, that's all we wanted to do, was make our case in another informed way, just to give you the most information possible to make your decision. And we're hoping that perhaps you could let us know by the end of the month, so we can get Eric and his team cranking on whatever it is that you decide to do.
And we will do our best. Maury, did you have a comment?
Maury Harlow Hawks on 9 Old Dock Road, West Falmouth. I travel this road all the time, and I don't have any dog in the fight for a roundabout or lights. I was just hoping that after this, maybe the state highway department would look at the 151 Sam Turner, Cloverfield, and Boxbury Hill Road, because I think your statistics there for accidents would boggle your mind, because the 5 that are at the old Willowfield intersection pale compared to that one, and there is no slowing device there except a yellow light, which is actually a green light for people to go faster. So when you get done with this one, move to that one. It's right down the street.
Thanks, Maury. All right, well, I want to thank you so much for coming tonight and for your presentation, and we will do our very best to have a decision by the end of the month.
Thank you. I'll leave the plans here.
Thank you.
You can take a look, and specifically, you can look at the differences between how wide one is compared to the other. I just want to point your attention, in front of the Beach House Restaurant is a good spot to look, because the signalized intersection includes the left turn pocket, so it gets wider into the frontage where the fence area is today, and the roundabout in that particular spot is less obtrusive. So I'll just leave both of these here with you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for that
Thanks.
presentation.
Thanks a lot of good info.
Yeah.
Okay, Maury Harlow Hawks, you are up for an interview for the Conservation Commission. I was saying earlier, if I can go back and find out where I was, we have an unexpired term for a full member, and that unexpired term ends June 30th of 2015, which is like next month. And then we'd have to reappoint for a 3-year term. Then we have 3 alternate members vacancies, 2 unexpired terms until 2016 and 1 until 2017. So tell us why you're interested in coming back to the Conservation Commission after your sort of brief hiatus. And what did you do in the interim?
Thank you very much for having me tonight. My name is Maury Harlow Hawks. Amazingly, you fill in all the spaces. You think you're going to have more time when you get off a board, and it just fills in like the beach sand. But I guess I'm going to make time for it. I enjoyed it. It was something I was familiar with. I felt I was an asset to the board. Several of the past board members and existing board members, my expertise in septic installations and landscape construction is helpful, and to have a diversified board, we have biologists, carpenters, plumbers. I mean, people know how to do things. It's nice to have a mix. And so that was the reason I wanted to get back on. I don't know if I have a lot more time, but I always made time before, and I didn't have time then. So that's what you do.
We could all write the same book.
Yeah.
Anybody have other questions for Maury? Sam?
I'm going to ask the same question. The change of the FEMA maps has moved the regulations around, at least. Are you familiar with those?
Yes, I am, and I've been actually attending the planning board meetings because obviously between velocity zones and flood zones, they're grappling with figuring out height issues, how it's going to affect the whole look of the town when we start elevating these houses along the shorefront. So I think that we need to all work together because it's going to really have an impact not only on the homeowner but the aesthetics of the town when we start developing, changing up the elevations on the houses.
And as a regulatory committee, What do you see your role as when an applicant comes forward that has something that's in conflict with the regulations?
It's very easy. It's black and white. You have a regulation, just like police, and that's the way it goes. And that's why I love that board, because you don't have a gray area.
Anybody else? No? Thanks, Maureen.
Okay, thank you very
We're
much.
going to take a vote right now because, yes. Your name for the record.
Tom Corriveau, Chairman of the Conservation Commission. I came here this evening because I know the applicants were applying. I'm grateful for both. It's encouraging to see some participation coming up. The board knows that at the end of June, I'm not going to be here. I've got 6 years in, that's it. I've moved on, I'm on the school committee at Upper Cape. I have great confidence in the people that are already on the board, and I'm encouraged that you're voting on this tonight. I would also like to reiterate that we do have other openings, and the alternates are encouraged to sit at the meetings. The quorum is an issue. It has been, unfortunately, one of the members has failing health concerns, another had requested some time for family, and it has put a burden on the existing members. Russ had redone school scheduling, myself on certain family things. I can't tell you how many days I haven't, outside of a special scheduled meeting. In the last 6 years, on one hand, and I'm missing a finger. So I'm encouraged, but I also want people out in the audience. That's why I came up here. Please don't stop thinking that this board is full.
Oh, no.
Okay, we really need to have that participation. We're very fortunate we have people that are interested and qualified people, both as the applicants of that.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
And my understanding is the way things are right now, the alternate members would actually be acting as full members because we have some, not vacancies, but people who aren't able to attend the meetings right now.
Right, and we need to look into that and take that up at a meeting very soon as to what we can do. We have never been asked before to provide a leave of absence to someone who was on a board before, particularly a regulatory board that requires really full membership most of the time. So we have to take a look at this and look at it very carefully. I think we have 2 issues, and I think they're coming up fairly soon, are they not? Yes. So, because we've been working with town council on this, because there's nothing in the charter that actually deals with the leave of absence. And sometimes you have to be very careful about that. Sometimes you can grant them and sometimes you can't. Sometimes people just have to take them, and that's it. So, so we will be looking into that. But I do think we should take a vote tonight and appoint a permanent member and an alternate member, because those are the vacancies we know exist right now. And we know there are other vacancies that probably might show up in next month as well. So even if we appointed one as an alternate member tonight, that person could be in a full position by next month, if that were the case. Yeah,
You
okay.
just reapply, correct?
Pardon?
You-
Yeah.
the
Yes,
full-
right, yeah. All right, so are we ready to take a vote? What?
Explain to me that the full-time position is for 1 month until the end of June.
That's right, and then in
That's the
June,
full-time.
we will be reappointing for another 3-year term.
And that person, this evening, now see, I think that's the question, is either candidate interested in that 1 month as a full?
Well, it's, the person who gets appointed to the full position for 1 month would very likely be the person who would be reappointed for the 3-year term.
But would they prefer being the alternate and then
Well-
have the years? That's my.
Well, they both were,
They
said they were seeking the permanent position.
They both said they're seeking the permanent
So
position.
it's for the 1 month?
And
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which way, they just need quorum, so that the public isn't
Yeah.
the one that's suffering.
Right.
Because when you don't have quorum, even when you have a full board, we never, in my tenure on that board, ever had a full board. As alternates, we were depending on the alternates, and not only did we depend on them, but they have to participate for the vote as a quorum. So you really never, it's not like you can come in when you're there, you need it. You're pretty much there all the time. And again, I think, is it 9 members, Tom, that we can have? I think it's 9, and I can never remember more
Yeah.
than 7.
I think
that
it's
we've ever
9.
had.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, alternate,
Okay.
it does just to,
Right.
so the public can.
Okay, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Wait a minute, Sam has some
I
comment.
just wanted to point out, that in some cases, you know, the alternate has to be there for some of the hearings that precede to the decision. So
The alternates
participation,
are supposed to attend all the meetings.
yeah, but,
Theoretically.
and so whichever person goes into whichever position, we're really going to need them both there, right? I think that's the thing that I wanted to mention.
All right, you have a motion.
And I'm going to do it for both of them at the same time, just to, because in the motion I sort of thinking that I would move that we appoint Maureen Harlow Hawks to the one full member for the 1 month period till June 30th, 2015, because she has the experience to be able to come on right away, and Jamie Matthews to the unexpired term until as long as possible to June 30th, 2017 alternate position, and hope that he is then going to be there for quite a while.
Is there a second?
Yes,
Second.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Okay,
So
all right.
Thank
you'll
you
have
all.
2 people Wednesday night.
Thank-
What? All right, don't say it. Okay, now we move to the, thanks, Tom, for coming. Thanks for your service, too, truly.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
6 years went by fast. All right, so
Okay, where are we
the
now?
last item is a discussion of business hours.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Do we have a discussion about the Board of Registrars
no, we already approved them.
and the other part?
Yeah.
I got it. Okay.
And anybody has anything signed, if you pass it back this way after you sign
Okay.
it,
Here's the first batch.
so I can run out the door.
This is something I asked to put on the agenda, and this was an idea about whether on the Mondays when we don't have a scheduled meeting, whether it would be appropriate, and these are certainly not be on non-holiday Mondays, so not on Memorial Day, to have 2 of us here being available to the public to raise questions, have discussions, not be on camera. I talked to someone who said that would be great because she'd be so scared to come in front of and be on camera seeing it, but just do something to make ourselves more available and accessible.
I think it's a important topic to discuss, as long as we have the parameters correctly. I think accessibility is great. Every email I get, I forward to the chair and the town manager for correct disposition in terms of whatever the person's request is, so it can go to the right person. It's always expeditiously dealt with and responded to, and I keep track and I follow it. The thing that I'm concerned about is that the public understands that the selectmen really, we can certainly listen, but we only function as a board. We can only act, when we're in these seats. And so it's not exactly a discussion in terms of the way people normally have discussions. It's sort of more of a request that we then forward. So, I think the accessibility idea is great, but I just wouldn't want there to be any sort of misunderstanding that it would be an expeditious way toward resolving a matter that usually the board deals with. Bless you.
I think it does have the potential to raise frustration in the people coming here wanting an answer, and many times say, well, we can't resolve that. I might be able to answer what the question is about the policy, but I can't really give you the resolution to it. I think it is true.
Keep going, I'll be right back.
Okay. If we're going to do this, I'd like to see us try a 3-month probationary period and see whether we get people coming in. And the reason I say that is I bet at least 50% of the time that we don't have a meeting on a Monday night, I attend the health department, the Board of Health meeting, because there are topics that are coming up on their agenda that actually are quite relevant to other things going on. So it would preclude me, if I was assigned on a particular night, from doing that. So I guess I don't want to make a year-long commitment when we might find that there isn't as much need as some people have raised as a possibility.
I agree with, have a trial time for it. And then we'll just have our notes and we'll talk about it and see if it should continue. But I would just do one Monday. Instead of, and, I mean, we usually would have 2 Mondays in the month. I would just do one of the Mondays in the month for 3 months. And let's see what kind of a reaction, because I think communication today is so available so quickly with all the apparatus that we have. I don't think there's anyone that can't reach any of us and either send us an email or something. But there is a very serious action to saying we're committed to listening to you. And I like that part of it.
The only reason I'm suggesting everyone is we need to make it the best chance of success. And if they don't, oh, was this the one they're doing, this the one they're not doing? And if we're just doing it for 3 months, the difference in numbers is probably, are we doing it 3 times or are we doing it 5 times? And I don't think we're that dramatic. It may turn out if we do it, say, once a month is enough. But at least for that 3-month period, I'd say, they know they can show up at 7. If it's a regular meeting, they know they have the open comment period. If it's not a regular meeting, say, oh, there are two people to talk to and get some input. I think it's going to be very important that we are careful about taking notes, about recording it, about letting everyone know this topic came up, and make sure that the information is transposed to the rest of us.
I have a couple comments, and that is, first of all, I think that for each of us, as we're elected individually in our own right, as selectmen, but I also think we have to find our own way, in a sense, to reach out to people. I mean, I don't think that it's something that you can necessarily always do as a group. Some boards of selectmen wouldn't even want to consider doing something like this, because this has been tried a few times in the past, and it's not really ever gone anywhere, mostly because nobody ever came. That doesn't mean the next time you try it that somebody won't come. But I think each of us has to find our way to do our public outreach. And how we do it is how we're most comfortable doing it. Some of us like to just go to events all the time, like me. I mean, I like to go to things in the community. I like to be where people are. I like to talk to people in their place, where they're comfortable, rather than in my place, where they may not be comfortable, and I'm very comfortable. So, but I think that's kind of a personal thing. I think this could work, but we have to keep in mind the open meeting law. You can have a discussion, but if you know that it's something that the board's going to take up at a future time, you might want to not have that discussion. And maybe something that could happen is somebody might bring something to the discussion, and one selectman might like the idea and the other one might not. So then what do? Then you don't want to get into a disagreement. And you also don't want the discussion to move to the point of being leading toward an issue that might come before the board, because you don't really want to get into things that you like. For instance, if somebody came and wanted to talk to you about the Consolidated Dispatch Center, you really wouldn't want to get into that discussion at all, because that's clearly a matter before the board. So, I mean, there's a lot of good judgment required. It might work very well, and there might be people that really like the idea. So I'm not opposed to trying something like that. But it's a lot of time to put in every other week, considering all the other things you do. And you have to consider the benefit of that as well. And how many people are you really going to reach? Of course, I think if you reach one person, that's a success, truly.
What had been suggested when you were going to only do this as a 3-month
trial and see how it works.
And see how it goes, as opposed to saying we're going to do it forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess I want to ask the question, how do you think we should structure this? Are 2 of us going to show up on those? Do we sort of have an assignment where these are your dates, and 2 of us, or are we talking about all of us on those days?
I'm saying just 2. I would not want it to be...
It can't be more than 2.
Yeah, because then we get
there's an open meeting law.
That would be considered deliberation.
Right.
Yeah, just so I understand.
So I guess I was envisioning when we had our sit-down for the calendar, mapping out when our official meetings are. At the same time, we volunteer, saying, oh, I can do that one easily, I can do that one, and just make it as easy as possible for whatever two can make it.
And have it be like office hours, 7 to 8, something
Right.
like that?
That's what I was gonna say, what time?
7 to 8.
7 to 8?
And if 25 people are here, it goes on till 9, but just advertise this and that.
Okay.
I'm not sure something that we would vote on, or we just
I
establish
don't
it when
think
we
we
do the
need to
calendar.
vote on it if,
Madam Chair, may I ask
Yes,
one question?
sure.
One of the things that I think would be helpful from a staff standpoint for the board to think about is what your intentions would be with regard to records and minutes. How you would prefer that information be documented as far as what was presented and what was discussed.
and why would you want minutes in the first place?
I would think informal notes taken by one member of the board to let the other ones who weren't here came up, but nothing more formal than that.
Would they be released to the public like our minutes are now? How would they be handled?
I
could
think
make
that's
it-
a good conversation with legal counsel.
Yeah,
to
I
see
think
if
that would be helpful.
This is a very informal, this isn't a formal
I don't
business
think we
meeting.
should
This
be-
is two selectmen informally being here to hear comments from people who come in. And I'm not even sure minutes are even appropriate. I'm not sure they really are. Because you get too caught up in the open meeting law if you start, this isn't really
One of the
hard.
things you want to be careful about is circulating notes from one selectman to all selectmen,
Okay.
which may be, maybe symptomatic of conducting some business. And I know that's not what is intended, but once there begin to be communications from one or more board members to the entire group, I agree with you, Pat, that we may want to seek legal counsel's helpful guidance
Well,
on
I
that.
think, isn't it similar to the rule that when we're a liaison and we go out to meetings and listen, and it's not the same
No.
as they're coming in?
Yeah, because
We're
you're
getting
inviting people
information.
to come and meet with you.
Yes.
That's
and
different.
then-
When you're a liaison, you just attend the meeting and you're just there.
And the only time we report what we've heard is at these meetings. We don't send emails about what we saw at a meeting.
Right.
As a liaison,
Yeah,
we
there's
have
no-
the selectmen report to do that.
Right.
And maybe that's the only time to do it, is during these selectmen reports at the next official meeting.
That might be
To say,
helpful.
when Sue and I were there last week, 10 people were there, and these are the 5 topics that came up, and do it in public session as opposed to anything else. And we can have something written in front of us that we read about it, but not distribute it in an official way
And
beyond
the
that.
other thing too is how do you make clear to the public what the expectations are? What they can expect? Do they think that they can come in and get a problem resolved? Or,
Not doctor's
I
offices.
mean, I think they have to be clear about
Yeah.
what the expectations are.
It occurs to me that a lot of the problems that may come up would be just simply us referring them to the town employees and staff, right?
Well, to the town
Town
manager.
manager, exactly. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of that. People will come up and say, I've got an issue with this, and well, this is not really a Board of Selectmen's matter. This is a matter for town employees to resolve, and we just simply refer it on to the appropriate person.
Or take a note about it, and we give the note to Julian saying,
Well, that's-
this issue
Sure.
came up. And
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we be the link,
The
if you
conduit,
will,
yeah.
to communication.
I mean, we did have an issue that came up today about the tap playground, someone concerned about a piece of equipment there,
Yes.
and didn't know what to do.
Exactly.
And we could say, well, this is what you can do, but let me write it down, and I'll send it off to Ray Jack and have it taken care of.
Yeah. It's worth a try. Okay. Anything else?
Just on that subject, it might be helpful anyway to have just some sort of policy by town council in terms of parameters, just guidelines, and then that would be good for the public as well as selectmen, just the general expectations.
Can I interject one other thing?
Sure.
I suspect you'll have regular press coverage of this and regular articles in the newspaper documenting perhaps, I'm just sharing this with the board, which we're probably going to want to be cautious to remind people that these are not sessions like you're having tonight, but are sessions ordained for another purpose. So I only share that with the board because I think it's something that we need to be thinking
it's
about,
true.
so someone does
Press
not
pictures up there.
misunderstand that a presentation to two members of the board is different in purpose and nature and scope from what you've been discussing here, which is to the entire board. So
I think
this is doable. We just have to keep the big picture in mind, I think.
for the first few times, we may have to have a paragraph that we read saying, this is what this meeting is about.
Yeah, good point.
Just pointing out to everyone, so you understand what the guidelines are. Here are the restrictions, these are what we can do, this is what we can't do. And this is the reason why we're doing it. And we just have a script that we read every single time.
It's not a
Heather?
meeting. It won't be a meeting.
Right.
It'll be a.
It's not a meeting, it's a
opportunity-
conversation.
Conversation.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking, that really,
Conversation with,
we really shouldn't ever
With the
be getting
board.
into a deliberation. We're just taking information in.
yeah.
Because if we start having a debate, I think then we start moving toward deliberation.
Yeah.
And so I think we're an interviewer and an opportunity to pass information to the appropriate person, including
That's right.
to you, Pat, if we think it's an appropriate agenda item to be brought up at a future date.
I do think there may be questions we can answer. And so I want to
We're,
restrict
like,
that.
Referring somebody onto or doing that, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Sure there will be.
Okay, anything else? Nothing too exciting? Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair,
what's-
maybe a brief report.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm ready to roll.
Go ahead.
I thought you meant on that subject, sorry.
I don't want to step on the toes of selectmen. They may want to have a report first, but I
No.
have just a couple items.
Yeah, well, I do have a couple things that
Oh,
I think,
I have a selectmen's report.
Okay.
yeah, go ahead, you do it first this time.
Okay, sure. So it was a busy week. One really significant thing was the Citizens Legislative Seminar that Therese Murray and Senator Vinnie DiMacedo, Tim Madden, and David Vieira suggested. And it's really something to look at when you go to the State House website. And it's a 2-day, full-day seminar on how to propose and get legislation passed. And it just was a great opportunity to be with people who really are committed to good government, and it's a great opportunity to learn the ins and outs. It's a great opportunity to really meet all of your senators and representatives, and you know, it's on the website. Everyone should take a look at it. The other thing was the Shivick's Pond Ice Cream Social, which I saw Becky, Sam there, and of course Heather, and that was just a great thing with the 300 Committee and the Bank of America. Lots of us were also at Smarter Cape Cod, which dealt with housing this year. Also Patty Haney was there, Ann Connolly, Mike Duffney, Holly Wilson, a lot of other people in terms of really where the Cape should be moving in terms of sustainability, job creation, housing that attracts young folks so that our demograph stays vibrant. So it was great information there. And a big subject was fast-track permitting. For permitting for development to be timely in terms of approval and expediting on certain issues, and to look at new styles. And then lastly, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I welcome the new MBL director and new president, Huntington Willard. So, busy week.
Good.
Well,
Sam?
let me just tag on to one of the meetings that Sue mentioned, and that's the Smarter Cape Cod Summit. I spoke to a couple of planning board members because we had nobody there from the planning board, and they said, you know, we didn't hear about it. So I would just say, somehow or other, we need to make these connections a little bit more, because they wanted to be there, and that's the explanation I got. So if we can help communicate these opportunities to people, I think we'll get a broader representation. But it was very well attended by Falmouth citizens. Ed DeWitt was also there. And I have to say, the last two gatherings, specifically focusing on housing and supporting economic vitality, have been well attended, and that includes the Cape Cod Builders and Renovators Association, as well as the Cape Cod Realtors Association. There's, I think, a groundswell in support of these kinds of initiatives, but we've just got to find the opportunities to move forward now, because I think there is a groundswell of support for assuring a more diverse opportunity for all kinds of housings on Cape Cod, and the essential link between economic vitality and having available housing. So, another meeting I went to was the Friends of Knobsco Light. I know Julian was there. I can't tell you how impressed I am with this group of people, all working together to organize, to get ready to do the renovation work, to work out some of the details that we need to work out with the Coast Guard, because there are significant issues that need to get resolved as part of the final lease that we. So, but a really outstanding group of people that really are dedicated to making sure that that becomes a phenomenal educational as well as tourist attraction here in Falmouth. Attended the school committee meeting, and they're working on the transition of the new superintendent, I know. Nothing that I can announce. One Conservation Commission meeting, I mentioned that the need for that, those additional members. Unfortunately, I think we've got that solved. I also attended a Falmouth Service Center, and Sue was there, Falmouth Service Center, just sort of a educational briefing for people to come in and see what the Service Center does. It's pretty impressive. I have to say, I've been donating things to the Service Center, but never actually had a tour of the facility and an overall view of all the things they do. And the numbers of people that they support in any given year is quite impressive. This is a not-for-profit group. They're not town employees, and what they do for the humanity of our town, the citizens relative, is quite commendable, and I was very much impressed.
And huge volunteers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, and not to mention financial donations as well. I mean, that's what makes it so successful in supporting people and helping to refer them to get them on on their feet if they've run into some kind of a setback in their life. They just need to get beyond that and get the right kind of resources available to find that new foothold, if you will, for vitality. The last thing, and I know Sue was at it, was the League of Women Voters Meet the Candidate night. I tell you, I fully recommend it. It's a shame that Morris Pond Auditorium is not overflowing. Obviously, Doug was there, but I think it's so much more impressive to actually sit there and watch the dynamics and hear people respond to the questions. So I would encourage people in the future to take advantage of this opportunity. You're going to be much better educated to what your voting choices, you have available to you when you go to mark your ballot. So it was a great night. Thank you.
John?
Two things. I went to the Woodsville Community Association meeting about 3 weeks ago. Did hear a report from them that they were very enthusiastic about the bagging of the meters during the month of March to April, and hope that we will consider doing that again in the winter for an extended period of time. And the second, just to follow up on Rich Sherman's Citizen of the Year, tomorrow night the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce is having their annual meeting and their banquet. They've changed the schedule, so the annual meeting is happening first at 4 o'clock, with then drinks and dinner after that, starting at 6. I think there are still seats available.
6 is the time to go.
6 is the time to go at the Sequest.
So, Julian.
Madam Chair, yes, a couple items. At the board's next meeting, which will be this coming Monday, May 18th, actually your last meeting in May, because with Memorial Day, you will not have a Monday again until June 1, I believe. The board would presumably consider your summer schedule, including your strategic planning retreat, which you have held each summer, and a potential joint meeting with the planning board. Also on Thursday in the past week, April 30th, the meeting for the Senior Center site feasibility study was kicked off officially. The consultants working with the Council on Aging on the building program, and we'll have the first meeting with the site selection working group on May 14th. The proposed date for the first public forum is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, June 18th, so June's certainly going to be a busy month, and to be held at the Falmouth Public Library Herman Foundation Meeting Room, at which time a number of high-level concepts will be presented by the consultant for each of the 4 potential sites which the Board of Selectmen have brought forward. Updates at meetings of the Board of Selectmen are contemplated between mid-June and early July, and a second update in August or early September would be brought to the board. Also, just as a reminder, this was mentioned earlier, the annual Police Officer Memorial Service is scheduled for this Wednesday, May 13th at 10 a.m. in the Falmouth Police Department. It's always a moving ceremony and well-deserving of attendance for those who are able to attend. And look forward to the Chamber of Commerce annual meeting tomorrow evening at the Seacrest. Thank you.
One more thing, if we have time.
Sure.
I just wanted to announce there's going to be a hearing by the Cape Cod Commission for Spring Hill Suites by Marriott on May 26, 2015 at 6:30 p.m. at the Falmouth Public Library Herman Room. And it's for a proposed hotel containing 110 units. And it says anyone wishing to testify orally will be welcome to do so, and written comments may be submitted at the hearing or mailed to Cape Cod Commission. And I understand that this is part of the process for that project.
I'm on the commission.
Great.
Hearing for that.
Excellent.
I decline to be the chair.
Well, you won't have to travel far.
That's right.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.